Today is May 13th, 2025. I'm Emmeline Jones, Chair of the Conservation Bank Board. We do have a quorum today, and we are on our new starting time of 3 p.m. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And our first order of business is the approval of minutes from the April 8th meeting. And Jennifer, I did have one clarification. Mr. Keys noticed that since he's related to Mr. Lee Keys, he will be recusing himself from voting on approval of the application, but will still participate in completing the criteria worksheet. He's not going to complete this, but he's going to perform his duties as secretary to record what we decide.
Okay.
So he's recusing himself from
Both of those,
from voting and from participating and from filling out the criteria worksheet.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure it's clear. The only thing he's doing is filling out, just basically recording what we agree on.
Okay, and Ryan, I set your recusal form right there, so you can
Okay,
sign it.
yeah.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Anything else in the minutes that anyone saw? Is there a motion that the minutes be approved?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, passes. Thank you. Treasurer's report for March and April.
All right,
AJ?
got it right here. So this is the treasurer's report for the Dogwood State Bank for the period ending in March 31st this year. We have a month opening balance of $150, and we had an expenditure of a $10 bank service charge, which left us with a balance in the account at $140. Oh, wait. Never mind. That's the wrong one.
Okay.
I think I need to be reading the April one.
That's okay. You need to do both,
Oh, I
March
need
and
to do
April.
both?
Yeah,
Okay, that
yeah.
works out. Okay, so that was for March there, and it looks
Okay.
like for just a checking account, just a confirmation of the current balance for the Dogwood State Bank, and that is it for the period of ending in March 31st.
Okay,
For the period ending, for March 31st for the local government investment pool, period ending in March 31st, we have a month opening balance of $363,717.25. We had a deposit of reinvestments of particularly interest for $1,402.88. That leaves us with a balance in the account as of the period ending date at $365,120.13. Yep, that looks all to be correct. Now, the treasurer's report for April 30th for the local government investment pool, we have a month opening balance of $365,120.13. We had a deposit reinvestment of interest for $1,356.48. That leaves us with a balance in the account ending that period of $366,476.61. And that is it for the treasurer's report.
great, thank you. And we've all signed for the transfer to the new account.
Yes, it is officially open,
Okay,
and so, I have access online just to watch our funds, and so I'll just print each month a report.
perfect. Thank you for doing that. I know that's not easy.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer.
Does anybody have anything under fundraising and public relation reports? Yes.
You can vote on this treasurer's report.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Fundraising, public relation reports. Anyone have anything? grant status?
There's no changes
No
on the
change.
grant.
Okay.
A quick question for you,
Yes,
I know
sir.
we just passed it. Fundraising and public relations, is that something that this does, or what is that?
There are times that, for instance, a few months ago, I went to a Oconee Food Council meeting, and there were different farmers that talked about easements and asked questions. Last month, I went to a Duke Power water source protection, and or I went to the Table Rock meeting. So if there's anything like in the community that any of us are doing, whether we're officially or not officially representing us, if they wanted to just give an update on anything related to conservation, what's going on, if you heard about a new park being, so there's nothing active, it's just,
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering what that was.
and we're not doing any fundraising right now. At one point, I think there was a push for that, but, public relations is just more or less what's happening in the community with conservation and, farmers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, grant status, Scotty, I think we don't have any change to that, okay. Okay, let me give y'all an update on the Stevenson Century Farm application. So we approved this, I think back in January of this year, County Council approved our request to fund it. It was a really interesting piece of property because it was 126 acres, but only 51 acres of it were in Oconee County. The other acres were in Anderson County. Obviously, we are only going to fund the percentage, the part of it that's in Oconee County. And at the time, it was 51 acres. Well, as they're getting closer to closing, they did another survey, and they found that it was only 44 acres, and instead of 126 acres, there were 132 acres. So they are going to have to come back to us with another request that is reflective of the number of acres that are in Oconee County.
They don't require an updated survey? I guess.
That's what they're doing to get to the closing. It's survey appraisal, it's all been, because you gotta remember, this thing started 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Something popped up, and I've not seen,
Just them wasting a lot of time with their time. I mean, I hate that.
well, they were trying to close the middle of June, and, I mean, what my hope was that we could be presented with everything, decide on it today, present it to county council June 3rd, but we don't have the final, papers. So it was a small grant, it was $20,000. When I run the numbers, I see that it's going to be reduced anywhere between $15,000 to $17,000, but we can't decide that until they give us an updated survey appraisal and an updated request specifically with the Oconee County portion.
Reduced by 15,000 or 1,500?
It was 20,000. I'm thinking it's going to be reduced to 15 to 17,000. Sorry, I didn't say that correctly. But that's just my own calculation. I don't know what it's going to be.
Well-
They'll have to get the updated survey, send it to us with an actual written request. I don't think they don't have to submit a whole nother grant application, but more like an addendum. And then what we'll do is I'll clear it through with the county attorney to make sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's. We'll present it to the board, and then, as we see appropriate, reduce their grant money based on the actual property in Oconee County.
Did we already release the grant money to them, or?
Oh, no,
Okay.
absolutely not. That's why there's so much due diligence in
We don't do
these.
that until closing.
Yeah.
They come
Okay.
and get it.
And it is, for instance, the Keys property, I think that came up on our radar 2 years ago. So all these things are very, there's a lot of due diligence, and it's a legal transaction. So sometimes things like this happen. It's not that unusual, it's not common, but it's part of the process.
Okay.
So that's why we don't release anything until it's all been
Confirmed,
confirmed, cleared, all the numbers match up.
got it.
You'll see, people don't come to us needing quick money. If
Yeah,
they need quick money, they don't need,
Yeah.
this is not the place,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Jimmy, have any questions about that? Because it's something I am learning about as I go, but we're just kind of in a holding pattern with that and dependent on them to provide.
One thing as a board is probably good for everyone to be aware of, surveys are extremely expensive now. And they're getting harder and harder to find licensed surveyors. So if we're approached with a project, I mean, it might be good in the questioning, like, where are you at on a survey? Have you had one? Have you talked to a surveyor? Because like Upstate Forever will pay for surveys. So if that could have been done, they could have been in position to correctly.
Well, this was an Upstate Forever project. The Stevenson wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 Chris came and presented it.
I mean, I remember seeing the appraisal, but something happened with the survey. And again, I have not seen the updated survey, so I can't speculate exactly what happened. It literally is going to be a difference of maybe 5 to 10 acres tops. But again, it's enough for us to want to have our funding, again, be reflective of what's in Oconee County.
This was probably a $25,000 survey.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is expensive, man.
Does anybody have any other questions about the Stevenson? We're not gonna take any action on it, but just be aware that it's something that's gonna come up.
Okay,
Okay, so now we get to the fun part, which is the Keys Family Farm application for funding. And I'll just start out with, AJ, do you wanna talk a little bit? AJ and I went out, I think it was Easter Monday. It was right after Easter. Do you wanna just talk for a minute about our visit and
Sure.
what you saw and your impressions?
Sure. Yeah, Mr. Keys was extremely hospitable and, he took us on his, off-road utility vehicle to tour the property, and we saw the, where he lives now, I don't know, I forget what it was referred to as, on the plans here, or the, application. But it was the non-timbered, land plot, per se. And, that's where he did that's where he does all of his cow farming, and, there was a pond, beautiful pasture, I believe, and there was 2 homes on that property already, or?
I think so. His
Yeah.
brother lives close by.
Okay.
But I think it's within
Lives across
sight,
the
but
road.
I don't think it's actually part of this property.
Oh, okay, okay.
I
'cause
think
know-
it's a separate section,
Yeah,
yeah.
we saw his home, but, yeah, I mean, 500 acres, we saw a lot.
It was-
There was a lot to see, and, like I said, it was really beautiful, the piece of property where he has his home. There's a forested area, there's this, like, kinda hilltop area as well that is really nice to look out on, and then he showed us, the 7 acres that's across the street as well. That was just mostly, let's say, pasture slash forest slash just kinda unmaintained, just kinda wild. And then, we also toured I believe that was the northern parcel, the 446 acres. And, we saw all the timbered land, lot of trees, and we also saw the pasture that's kind of like in the center of all the timbered land and all the forests. And that was just, quite the sight, to say the least. Just beautiful, rolling hill pasture. And, it's an amazing piece of property, to say the least. There's streams, there's at least one stream that I can remember, there's the pond, cows on it, it's a forest, a lot of timber, so, it was quite the tour.
We were there probably 3 hours, you think?
We were there for,
It was a blast.
yeah,
We were riding
quite a
around that
long time.
ATV over
Yeah.
the streams. Also, Family Cemetery is there.
yes, yeah, very, very old family cemetery was there.
So, a couple things that struck me was, a couple things were the proximity to 85, the frontage on Highway 11, on both sides of Highway 11. There's a lot of frontage. The land is not, as AJ said, it's not contiguous, so it's divided into pieces. It's kind of interesting, and I won't go into how the pieces have been acquired by his family. But it was a great visit and beautiful piece of property.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions about the site visit? Okay. So let's just get started. And the way this works is I'm just gonna go down every criteria, and you can say what your number is. If we disagree, we can discuss it and come to an agreement. One thing I did want to make sure, Jennifer, will you pull up the document that has the requirement for farmland? So this is the grant procedure, and if you look on here, you'll see on the sheet that there's a maximum of 100 points, but it's really not 100 points because there are different categories. So if you look on your screen, on number 5, we have to have a 30 for farmland, we have to have a 22 for in-holding land, we have to have a 40 for non-farm land, and a 21 for historic or cultural land. So for this property, even though the possible score is 100, there's one piece of property would never score 100 because it doesn't meet all the criteria. So the minimum score for farmland is gonna be 30. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Is this considered farmland?
Yes,
The entire property?
yes. Because he farms it. It's not, are you familiar with the working farm bill that McMaster just passed? We've talked about it a couple times. It doesn't qualify for that. To qualify for that, I think 50% of your income has to come from the farm, and it doesn't qualify for that.
And I do have a question, so that northern parcel with mostly all forest and that middle pasture, so that would be considered farmland and not, non-farmland?
Well, we've got to look at the whole piece of property,
Okay,
and it's a,
Considered like a tree farm, basically. I mean,
well, timber and cows and,
Yeah, would be considered.
yeah, cause he doesn't have, there's no active farming on the 446 acres, it's just the timber. That's why I was wondering, to me, I would put that as non-farmland, but I don't know if that's a wrong understanding of it.
It's like having I'm supposed to be recused, so I guess I can't say.
You can talk, you can.
yeah, you can
So-
talk from not about this
yeah,
property,
so-
but just as from a real estate perspective.
Yeah, so the timber has been treated agriculture, so it's been thin. I mean, it's similar to having a hayfield without cows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
they can do occasional cuts on it and make some money, but like, a timber track is in it for the long haul, so it's just a different, he's not making income, most likely,
Yeah.
on any kind of regular basis unless they do a thinning or do a cut, do a track.
It's not annual income, it's more managed
Yeah, yeah, so.
forestry.
But I will say, other tracks qualify for that with having hardwoods like across the road here, like mixed trees that I've seen them get qualified for ag use, where they're not really growing timber to be cut as timber like he is.
Harvesting goods off the property.
Yeah.
It's farmland to me.
But there's a fair amount of fields now that are just used for hay,
Yeah.
you know, where there's no cattle, but they're making income on the hay.
Okay, so let's just get started. Wetlands,
To be clear, I'm just doing the score sheet at the
Yes.
end, right?
So before we get to section 4, in section 2, one of the things it said is you'd had to have an appraisal within 12 months. And so my question is, how do we measure the 12 months? Because this application came in November. His appraisal that's in the backup materials was done in, I believe it was March of 2024. So it's within 12 months of when he filed, it's not within 12 months of today.
where are you looking, Gordon?
It's section 2, item number 2, landowner notarized signature present in the application.
Oh, okay.
And if item D is checked yes, documentation, and I just read, the documentation is an appraisal,
Right.
and the commentary in there is it had to be within 12 months.
So I would say within 12 months of the grant application is how I would read it.
When he turns this in, I guess, so that.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I'm
yeah.
good with that.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of asking the question, because it straddles the
Yeah,
time
it does.
period in an awkward way.
And that's because of our weird way of the cycle, which,
Yes.
I know.
we've
We're gonna
talked
work
about
on that, though.
Okay.
But I
Moving on.
appreciate you bringing that up, because, there's so many timing, like, we've got 90 days to present it to county council, and we want to make sure everything's done correctly. Okay, wetlands,
0,
I'm 0 for that.
0 as well.
okay.
0.
0.
B,
I'm doing just this,
B, I put 4 only because it said they had it.
I put 4 as well for the same reason.
okay, I had 4, and
I got
it's,
4.
it's the Little Shostaka Creek.
Show it, Stowe.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Show it,
I
Stowe.
would have known how to pronounce
So
that.
interestingly enough, Lake Hartwell has 962 miles of shoreline, and 262 miles of those shorelines are in Oconee County, which is 27%. And this feeds right into Lake Hartwell, so. C, adjacent to water classified,
No,
I put 0.
0.
I had 0. D,
0.
I put 0 as well.
0.
okay. E,
4.
Gave it a 4.
okay, so, that was the coneflower and the begonia. And if people were interested in looking back, it was on page 50. E, presence of native wildlife species,
Or habitat, 4.
okay. G, extent of biodiversity.
No idea what that means.
0.
Yeah, that's
You
0.
put 0?
I put
Their
0.
application said no.
Yeah.
I could not find that anywhere, but I'm gonna take your,
It's, biodiversity is something that I don't understand because I'm not a scientist, but it relates to, how different the grasses are and the birds and the waters and, for instance, like Lake Jocassee has a lot of biodiversity. But for this, and,
Studying law? No.
it is on the application somewhere, whether we claim to have it, but anyway, that's a 0. Okay, how about unique geological natural feature,
I had 0.
0.
okay? Percentage of property sharing boundary with protected land,
0.
0.
historic cultural features,
0.
prime statewood soil types.
So he put yes on the application, but he didn't check a percentage.
Yeah,
So
that's-
I was assuming it was less than 30%, but if it's less than 30%, the form doesn't give us the ability to,
It doesn't feed you an answer, is what I'm gonna say. Okay?
That's a better,
So
description.
we have discretion below, I'm gonna say below 30%.
So it's 116 acres of prime soil, which is 21%.
So it would be 2 points.
Well, it wouldn't, we really couldn't give it two
Yeah, cause it has to be 30.
because it's not
Oh.
30.
Oh, I got you.
So we could give it 1 or 0.
I'll give it one.
I'd give it 1.
Okay,
Yeah, we give it-
thank
All
you.
right, one.
Number 5, actively farmed, future farmed.
I put
Say 6 on that.
actively, is it actively farmed? Yes?
Yes.
So he's got 130 acres of livestock, and he's got 250 acres of timber. So I put, as well, I put 3 for actively farmed, 3 for future plans, because he does have a plan with the, I think with the Forest
I
Service.
put three for actively farmed and 0 for future plans, because he's splitting it up into how many parcels, and who knows what those people will do. Will they really farm it, or will they just?
He's
build
not
on-
split, I don't think he's split it up into parcels. I mean, it's
I
different
thought he
par.
was gonna be split up with 3 different homes. Is that not correct?
Well,
But just
it-
small home sites.
It's a home site, but it doesn't mean that he is going to do that. It just gives him the opportunity if he wants to build houses. But his plan now, it's on
Well, these are
There's 3 parcels.
50,
the home sites, and those home sites each have an attached parcel.
Yeah, each home site would have an attached parcel, so that means.
It would just be for the home site.
Yeah, but it's, you're talking like a 2-acre
Oh,
parcel.
I see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you now.
It's not like the whole parcel that the home site is sitting in.
Farm it.
Well, so that's what I was wondering, because are we considering for what's future plans a month after we award the grant? Upon talking to Mr. Keys, you know, he had a family member who was there, and I spoke to them in person, and I don't wanna assume that there's no future plans, but I don't know what's gonna happen once Mr. Keys, may not own the land,
Oh,
so.
Well, it will be, I've got it down as S4, 5A and B. I don't know that I can find it. But he does have a plan. It's a plan for agritourism and a plan for,
Harvesting timber.
yeah, harvesting timber. And then he's working, I think, with the US Forest. But no, we can't say what's it gonna be like in a month, 6 month, a year.
'Cause I
But the
know he's
plan
gonna-
is, his intention is to continue, farming.
Okay, cause I, you know,
But-
I have no issues putting a 3
Yeah.
on there if, you know, the future is the moment after we, you know, give him the grant, cause I know he will still be raising cattle, he'll still be
Right.
doing the timber and all that, I just wanted to get that
Yeah.
kinda cleared up.
He's got a mile. Okay, he's South Carolina Farm Bureau, working farmlands, agriculture, timberlands, and area of threat of development. I'm just reading straight from the application, y'all. Reserve rights, agriculture activities, new agriculture structures, timber management with plan from certified forester.
Okay,
So that to me is future plans.
okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
But I'm not, I mean, you could put whatever you want and we could average it out, but I feel like since he's got that plan with the Forest Service, so what do y'all think? We all agree 5A should be 3. What do y'all think about 5B? I gave it a 3, but, okay. What about, y'all speak up?
you know what, because there's not a timeline for the future plans, and, we know that Mr. Keys is gonna continue raising cattle on it as long as he owns the property, and then he does have that, information in the application, I'm okay with doing a 3 for
Okay.
future plans.
I'll go ahead and do a 3 then.
Okay, so we've got 6 for that. Public visibility to property, I gave 1 for A and I gave 0 for B. What
I
about
agree with
y'all?
I agree with that.
Okay, because he does have almost a mile on Highway 11. Scenic views, 7A, I gave, 0.
I did too.
I mean, it's just, but preservation of scenic nature of area, I gave that a 1 because you've got a mile on Highway 11, that close to 85, and it really is, I mean, it's stunning. I drove out there on a beautiful day.
I'm okay with a 1 on that.
So I think that's, are y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
Speaking
I
of
gave it
Gordon.
2, actually.
Okay, I know, it's just so,
And, you know, scenic views, I mean, a scenic view from the property or preservation of scenic nature of the area. This is a mile of frontage on our, you know, Highway
Scenic
11,
highway.
this scenic highway.
yeah.
I
agree with you.
I would just, whatever we can do on preservation of, you know, scenic views from that highway, I think he gets all the points he can get.
Okay. Well, I think we should do 7A1, 7B1.
No, I don't think.
No?
I
Or is
don't-
it 2 on each?
I put 2 on the B and 0 on A.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
Is what I did.
Okay, thank you, that makes more sense to me. Y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Gordon, I agree with that. 8, A and B,
And I gave him 0.
I had 0 on both of them.
me too,
I said it was 0 public access.
right.
Yep.
On 9A, I put 1 on proximity to protected land because it is close to Lake Hartwell.
How close? It says less than 5 miles, but how close is it? How many miles? So I had 0 on both of those because I didn't think it was that close to, you know.
It's close to a state park.
Yeah,
Less than 5 miles.
yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was less than 5 miles, but how many miles?
I mean, it's subjective, yeah. To me, if the stream flows through it or flows to the lake, then that, to me, that means it's proximity. But like I said, out of
His
2 points,
application-
Perry, I gave that a 1.
One is,
Basically,
one
goes
is,
right past my
one makes sense to
What
me.
he's
Yeah,
having in-
because it's not, it's
Next to
not
the
sitting on top of the
And
lake.
that's what I
And it's
based it.
not directly across the street, but, okay, good.
So 1 and a 0?
I think that's what I had.
What number are we on?
You know.
I'm sorry, 9,
It's okay, 1 to 0.
0?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm okay with
Thinking
that.
that way.
okay. Threat of development, you know, it's right there on Highway 11, I-85, Lake Hartwell.
10, you can give it a
What do y'all think?
I gave it 5 points. This is prime property for development because of its location on 11. It's not very far from 85. I mean, you look at the location of where this property is, and it's like, yeah, there would be interest in it. Now, there is interest in it, I'm sure.
Is it,
I got the number for D.R. Horton's regional buyer. I could put them on speakerphone and show you how much interest he had. They'd be interested.
I think that it's, what did AJ, did he say it was 4 miles from 85 maybe, or less than that? I can't.
Yeah,
It's.
It's close.
pretty close.
I live right in
it's
that
not-
area.
Oh, okay.
Around about
But
Yeah, I mean,
So we go to 5 on that one?
I want to talk about it.
That's what I think.
Yes.
So, 11,
Would be 5, wouldn't it?
we've
Aye.
got 5, we've got 553 acres. Number 12, impact off-site water quality.
I didn't see that anywhere on this, on the form. I
So-
don't really know what
I
that.
mean, you got streams on it, it would be max,
It's the impact of the stream on Lake Hartwell, basically.
which is a huge water reservoir.
It's got 4 miles
And look,
of
that's a little Shelley
stream,
Stowey that runs through that?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 miles of streams, it's 1.5 miles downstream from Lake Hartwell.
Upstream.
I've got 541B. I mean, I've got all these notes, and then it's just,
Well, I mean, if it
So-
makes sense, it would be a 3.
Major seismic event.
that's what I had it at, Perry. Do y'all have it at, So Jennifer, could you get to page 40?
Of the application.
I mean, all of his runoff's going straight into the Savannah River basically, so I
Yep.
mean, it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And it's not that far from Hartwell.
He said in the application on page 26, item 12, that, the easement will help reduce runoff into Lake Hartwell only 1.5 mile downstream.
Oh, okay.
He's-
Yeah.
1.5 miles downstream,
So that one would be, 3.
3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are the maps on page 38, 39, 40 of the actual tributary. Plans for property.
I gave that a 2, just because he has
Okay.
good plans for it. Right?
That's what I gave it a 2 as well. Okay, so that, how many points is that?
I did have a
Right.
question about
Yes.
one, on the extent of biodiversity. Like the definition of biodiversity, it's like, it's having like different animals, different aquatic life, mammals, fungus, all kind of certain things in one environment. I mean, he really has that.
That is such a complicated question, because I agree that any presence of biodiversity gives credit, but he didn't put that on his application.
Well-
So I'm like,
But, if he put something on his application and we get out there and say, it's not there, we're gonna judge it.
yeah,
But I mean, do you have
Yeah.
to look something that is there?
yeah.
38?
I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, but he didn't give himself credit. So my argument's always been like, if there's any biodiversity at all,
It's biodiversity.
then there's biodiversity. But yeah, that's,
Just so far, I've got 38 points.
That's
Yep.
what I got.
is that what you're at, Brian?
Yeah, that's what I got, that's what we got.
So
That's enough.
the financial criteria, financial expertise and resources for enforcement. So what we're looking at there is
Farm Bureau.
the Farm Bureau too.
I thought this is primarily for the Farm Bureau.
Exactly, the Farm Bureau Land Trust.
Yeah.
And so they have had a land trust for several years. I think I didn't write down how many acres they've saved, but they definitely have the expertise and the connections to enforce it. He did a great job, I thought, at our meeting explaining how that works.
And that's just pass-fail.
Exactly. Funding percentage requested. So keep in mind that this is the largest request we've ever gotten as far as money and acreage. Our bylaws say that we strive to keep it well within the 10% range. And right now, this is the 5% range because it is such a big piece of property.
Yeah,
So I gave that a 3.
Number 2?
yes.
Yes,
Okay, so, but number 1 would be a pass.
yes. Even though this will be our first grant from the South Carolina Farm Bureau Land Trust. They've done enough across the state
Yeah,
that I
agree.
feel good about what they're doing. Matching funds. So the South Carolina Conservation Bank Board has pledged $812.
1,000.
Yes, thank you. $812,000. So I gave that a 5. I mean, the state's making a pretty big investment in this.
Yep.
So the state is making a contribution, the county is making a contribution. Who else is making contributions?
It's funded from we're giving funding and
The state?
the South Carolina Conservation
What
Bank
about
Board.
other conservations?
Is Upstate
like,
Forever
Upstate
now?
Forever and those?
So they're a land trust, and this easement is not through them, it's through the Farm Bureau. So I guess you could look at it, their contribution is Chris's time and their investment in it. But it's mainly, the landowner is choosing to do this.
Okay.
And
South Carolina Land Bank's always the huge player in this.
And they've already done the site visit, the Conservation Bank Board. AJ and I talked to them a little bit about that. One thing that's interesting, I didn't realize, is that the South Carolina Conservation Bank Board does have a board, but the board does not actually make the site visits. It's just the staff. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because to me, that's the best part of doing this, is going out and meeting the landowner.
You mean the South Carolina Land Bank Board?
The board does not,
It's because they have a staff.
yes, they have a staff. And most of those board members are DNR,
Yeah, it's
forestry.
pretty big.
You know, and so I
Yeah.
guess because they're covering the whole state,
And some of them
They're not
are
out
really
there.
wealthy retirees at the coast. They don't have time for,
right, right.
they're too busy.
So
Playing.
number 3 would be, 5?
I gave it a 5. I
Give
mean,
it a 5.
$812,000.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4, partnerships, I gave that a 3 because they're already connected with a certified forester to continue timbering the property.
Agree.
Number 5, cost per acre, $210 an acre. Jennifer, can you pull up from the backup that sheet that gives all of the grants that we've given so far and has the, it's probably towards the beginning, maybe right past the treasurer's report? Okay, it's page 11. So if you all just want to take a look at some of the grants that this board has done, and the acres, so we don't actually have the number per acre, but you could figure it out. $210 an acre is a, okay, so the average, this is great, thank you, Jennifer. The average that we funded is $306 an acre. So $210 an acre is well below the average, so I gave that a 2.
Yeah.
Other economic benefits, I gave that a 1 because Lake Hartwell is a pretty big tourist destination, and there's a big push for agritourism, which is people coming and visiting the farm and doing the, what are those called, like the mazes and everything. I'm not saying he's gonna do that, but he does have, there's mention of agritourism in there, which would mean possibly opening it up to the public at some point.
But they also haven't said that there's gonna be any access to the property. I mean, it's kind of,
No public access.
there's no public access to the property, so it's kind of hard to give them credit for agritourism without access to the property. I mean, I gave it a 0 for other economic benefits.
Okay, I mean, I'm fine with the 0. I just thought Lake Hartwell, that,
We've given it water quality points already.
yeah, that's fine. I get that. I don't really understand agritourism anyway, but, okay, so what are we up to with,
Total's 51.
okay. And so we had 13, is that right?
13.
Okay,
Total is 51, right?
Yep,
is that what y'all had?
that's what I have.
I have that as well.
So even if we did qualify this as farmland, which I think we are, it would still pass. So that gives me a little bit of comfort. So what happens next is, I'll get that from Ryan. If we vote to recommend it to county council, I'll fill out the agenda item summary. I also will fill out the bank findings, which is how, and I would love, if anybody wants to see it, they can, how this piece of property does meet our criteria. And then we'll attach the numbers. So do I have a motion that our board recommend to county council that we fund the Keys Family Farm through the South Carolina Farm Bureau Land Trust, owners Lee Keys, 109 Creekview Lane, Westminster, 553.29 acres at $116,000.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Awesome. Thank y'all. See, it wasn't that bad. It's kind of, it's definitely a give and take. And I think we all bring our own different perspectives. Some of them are super objective, other ones are, pretty objective, but
So do you need to keep these?
no, absolutely not.
Okay. This
I
is
mean,
just
if you
a
want-
work, this is a worksheet.
That is your own worksheet,
Okay,
because
okay, I got you.
if you looked at mine, I've changed mine several times, up and down based on our conversation. He's got the final, which is what we all agreed on. Is there any other business? So we're not gonna meet until August, and hopefully by then we'll have another grant. I think that's right. You're looking at me, you're scaring me.
I was just sitting here counting the
Well,
months.
we
in
don't
my head.
have, our next deadline is August 1st, and I think we're gonna have another one from the South Carolina Farm Bureau. This is gonna be a really exciting one.
It's a big one.
That's like 800
Yeah,
acres, right?
and so if that comes through, that's something to look forward to, and I don't know what's going on with Upstate Forever. I don't know, I hadn't been in touch with the Oconee Soil and Water Conservation, Natural Land Trust, but you never know what's gonna pop up, so. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Now let's get to work.
Thank you.